For this video, I wanted to share the story of my motorcycle accident, which is how I became a paraplegic from the chest down. From the chest down, the nipple line down, I can't feel anything. I can't move anything. So this is about 5 years ago. I was a part-time police officer, a full-time plumber, an HVAC technician. I wanted to become a full-time police officer. And so I moved my family down to this little city. And the day I moved my family down, that night, my wife wanted to go to bed. She was tired, and I was so excited to be there. I wanted to go to the PD and let everybody know that I moved down there. And so I went to the PD. She went to bed, and there was only one officer on duty. It's a small town. And I visited with him for a little bit. Then I left, and I was on my motorcycle, and it was just such a beautiful night. I was like, I'm just going to ride around a little bit. And so I left the PD after the officer, and I waved to him, and that was the last thing I remember. This was about 10:30 at night. I went east on this street. I don't remember doing this. About a mile down, I turned around, and as I came back, a deer hit me. And they say that because there was no paint transfer or anything like that. And you could not see me or my motorcycle from the road. I was pushed off. Everything was pushed off the road. I was in a ditch 6 feet down. I woke up 8 hours later, and it was like dawn outside, and I didn't understand what was going on. I couldn't move. My phone was ringing behind me, and I couldn't get to it. And the only thing I could do was barely raise my hand, and I tried to raise it up above the grass blades that were in front of me. I didn't know if that was going to help or not. And I tried yelling for help, and I could barely do that. See, my lung capacity is diminished from my chest line down. And I had 6 broken ribs, 6 on one side, 6 on the other, a broken wrist, a broken elbow, a broken scapula, a broken nose in 2 places, and of course my broken back. And I had all these injuries that was making it near impossible for me to yell for help. And so all I could do at that moment, see, I was to the point where I was almost an atheist. And all I could do at that point was cry out to God. That was all I could do. I couldn't cry out to evolution. Evolution wasn't going to help me. But I cried out to God. And I told him, this prayer happens all the time. If you get me out of this, I'll do whatever you want me to do. People say that all the time. But then they shut up afterwards. Well, I'm not shutting up. I'm telling you about my accident. And I cried out to God. And I heard a car coming by slowly, like that squeaky sound of the brakes. And I yelled for help as loud as I could, and I raised my hand. And the car went away, and then I heard it coming back again. And I raised my hand and yelled for help, and I saw the officer that I had met with the night before. I saw his face, and I just passed out. Then I woke up and I saw a sheriff's deputy, a county cop, a good friend of mine. I saw his face, and then the next thing I remember, I was getting loaded up in the ambulance, and the doors were getting shut, and I saw my chief at my feet, and I said, "Boss, am I going to be able to walk again?" He said, "Don't worry about that right now, bud." The doors closed, and there was a severe storm that came down. And if I would have been in that ditch, who knows if the water would have came over me? Who knows if I'd have been able to breathe? I'd have had to put my hand over my face to cover the water. It would have been bad. But I'm telling you, the Lord saved me. The Lord has been keeping me for these 5 years. I've been growing. What I mean by that is I turned back to Him. I repented of my sins. That means I turned from my sins and I turned towards God. I got in the Bible. I dusted that thing off and I got in the Bible. I read it through. I'm on my 3rd time through now. And it is amazing. I cannot believe what I'm learning about God. But most importantly, what I learned about Jesus Christ, how He came to this earth. He was the only Son of God, and He came to this earth. And His whole life, He was a man of sorrows. His whole life was horrible. He was poor. His mother was a lunatic who said that He wasn't Joseph's son, that He was God's son. And so Jesus Christ came and He took the penalty that is due to us. He took that penalty. He was scourged. You know what a scourging is? It's a handle, and it's got these little ends that come off of it, little whips. And at the end of the whips, there's pieces of glass and bone that's tied onto that. And so when they get whipped, it tears into the skin, and they pull it off, and it reveals bone underneath, and it's a horrible punishment. And Jesus took that punishment, and then they clothed Him, and they in a scarlet robe, or a robe of like a king would wear. I don't know if it was scarlet. And they put a crown of thorns on Him that just dug into his skull, and it dripped blood. And they mocked Him, and they punched Him, and they slapped Him. They spit in His face. And then lastly, they crucified Him. And as they were crucifying, Jesus said, "Forgive them, they know not what they do." And then when He was about to die, He said, "It is finished." And what was finished was He paid all of what needed to be paid for us to be able to get back and have a relationship with God. And that's why I'm telling you this. That's why I'm telling you this. Because right now we're unprecedented times. We've never seen times like this before. The coronavirus and all this stuff that's going on. We're shut in our houses. We don't know what's going to happen from day to day. We don't know who to believe, who to turn to, what to do. But I'm telling you, there's one you can turn to that tells the truth. If you don't have a Bible, you can get the YouVersion Bible. Look for that online. You can get that and download it on your phone. You can try to find your paper Bible and dust that thing off like I did. Begin to read it. Start in Matthew and read through the Gospels and see how awesome Jesus Christ is and what he did for us. I'm telling you, there's hope. There's always hope in the Lord, no matter what we're going through. I tell you this from a wheelchair where there should be no hope. Turn to him and look to him. And I just want to thank you for taking the time in the days when the videos that we watch we look for short videos. So I thank you for taking the time to listen to this story, and I just pray that you find the Lord.